Okay, back with our tennis athlete. We're going to do the strength phase, day number 2. We're going to do some strength endurance training. Today will be the focus. Okay, we're going to start out again with some self-myofascial release using the tennis balls and the foam roller, and then get into some active stretching, some core balance plyo, and then finish with the resistance training circuit. So I'm going to use a 2 tennis ball. I just got 2 tennis balls taped together here. I'm going to go right back on the calf, so we can get into down towards the Achilles and the soleus if we needed to, or medial and lateral head of that calf, so we can keep that sucker moving up and down, and then transfer to the other side, and then we're going to move on to back to the medial border of the scap that we did for day 1 of the stabilization phase. But now I can attack both these at the same time. I'm going to do it a little different, so I'm going to go ahead and roll. Take a couple deep breaths. I'm going to roll up and down, just in short little rolls here. But what I can also do is progress into that reach in the sagittal plane, then in the frontal plane, in the transverse plane, and then more so in the frontal plane, back and forth on different spots. So we got 2 options: roll, but this really gets deep into that medial border of the scap. Then I'm going to foam roll back on my lateral rib cage. Okay. So I can work from that bottom rib all the way up to the armpit area, even into that back of the arm and the lat a little bit. Again, getting that body ready for the thousands of forehands, backhands, and serves that I'm about to make over the course of the week. And then last one is I'm going to go into my anterior tib. So start at the knee. I'm going to turn my toe medially and get right on that that soft part of the tissue, just from a push-up hold position. So after all the pounding that you take on the court, this will be a good one to work in to the program. So then we're going to go to active stretching. So we're going to go 5 to 10 reps, 1 set of each of these, but we're going to hold for 2 seconds and then come out. Hold for 2 seconds and come out. So a little bit more active than the dynamic stretch. Okay, we're going to start with a hamstring track stretch, then go into some kneeling rotations. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to drop my fingertips to the ground, stagger my feet, drive up, hold for 2, back down, drive up, hold for 2, then back down. So I'll repeat for 5 to 10 reps on each side. And then I'm going to get to the prone kneeling rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come from the kneeling position. I'm going to put my elbow out, put my fingers on my ear. I'm going to sit my hips back so I kind of lock them down a little bit. Then I'm going to drive over, then out. So I'm going to kind of limit my rotation for my hips and make it come from the thoracic spine for a 2-second hold up at that top point in each direction. Okay. Then I'm going to find a box. I'm going to do a standing kind of hip external rotator, external rotator stretch. So what I'll do is I'll stack a couple boxes here. Okay. And then I'm going to take whatever leg I want and do a seated position here, so I'll be nice and tall on this front leg. Then I'm going to rotate my rib cage a little bit towards that front leg for 2 and then come out of it. Rotate for 2, then come out of it. Okay, repeat on the other side. Then back to the posterior shoulder and neck again. So I'm going to go back to my dominant side to start, flatten that scap against the wall, but this time I'm going to go look up and over my opposite shoulder. So I'm going to go look up and over, 2 count, come back, 2 count, and then come back. So posterior shoulder, all this tissue here, and most of the neck and anterior chest. Okay, and then finally I'm going to finish what I had last year. The standing anterior hip stretch. So I'm going to drive into my anterior lunge position. I'm going to rotate left, rotate right, and then come out of it for 2. So boom, 2-second hold here. I went a little fast on that one. 2-second hold here, then come out of it. So that'll bridge the gap as we move into dynamic stretching. So then we're going to go into the our core and balance movements. I'm going to get into some half kneeling rows. I'm not going to do any balance movements specifically today because those are kind of covered when we hit the resistance portion of it. So I'm going to do some half kneeling stick rows, really going to work on some stabilization of my core and strength of the core as I rotate my hips just a little bit. I'm going to kneel on my left knee and pull with my left hand. Okay, so right about chest height. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then turn it around and do a horizontal push. So I'm going to kneel on my right, give a little bit of rotation from my thoracic spine and my hips, and prep the body under a little bit heavier load in the strength phase. Okay. Then I'm going to come out here on the turf. I'm going to work a little bit more vertical on this one. I can use a higher hurdle if I wanted. I'm going to do a double contact. So I'm going to go continuous here, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then stick the landing. So I'm going to go, but I'm going to work for height here instead of horizontal distance. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then nail it. And then repeat on the other side. Quick hits, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then stick, okay? And then repeat for the set. So good activation. We'll do more plyos on the SAQ day. And then we'll move into the resistance training. So now we're looking to kind of a hybrid program here. We're going to build with a stable resistance movement at a moderate intensity, and then transfer into a similar movement right away with a lower intensity but more balance and core activation. So we're going to go to a cable push-pull. Okay, so I'm gonna push the cable out with my right hand, then immediately following I'm gonna turn the body and go into a row. Push, and then pull. So a lot of rotation through the total body. And then I'm gonna repeat that on the other side again. Single leg Romanian deadlift, soften my knee. I'm gonna drive back, I'm gonna hold this position, and then come into some single arm horizontal pulls. So a lot of work going on through the lower body and the core to stabilize me as I pull into that row. I'm going to take the cables down and do 2-arm vertical pressing. Okay. So I'll grab my cables, come down. Pretty basic here. You can split the stance if you want, but I'm going to come up right up vertical for a couple reps. After I'm done with that set, I'm going to go single arm, single leg, bottoms up press with the kettlebell. Okay, so I'm going to stand here, my single soft hips and knee. I'm going to drive up, under control, and then come back down. So a little bit longer tempo, and focus on the eccentric for these second sets of exercises. But a lot of work going through the shoulder girdle, rotator cuff, core, opposite hip, opposite leg. All right, and then we're going to go into 2-arm kneeling cable pull down. Adjust these guys here to the highest point. Set the appropriate weight, whatever I need. I'm going to lock myself down on 2 knees and then drive back and down. So nice and stable here. Really focusing on some force production from the posterior side. And then I'm going to combo that, superset that with this high pull. So as I go over, the angle will change, but I'll still be above the shoulder. So I'm going to come into a single arm, single leg. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of a hip rotation as I drive that sucker back and down. And then repeat on the other side. Focus on the eccentric here for that nice slow return back to the cable. All right, then last one, we're going to finish with lower body. We got a split squat with dumbbells. Okay, so I'm going to come here, my split squat position, pretty basic here, drop down, then coming up, drop down, coming up for about a 2-0-2 tempo, 2 up, 2 down. And then I'm going to take, it's going to be a little high here, maybe 1 or 2 dumbbells, and go into a step up sagittal plane with balance. If I have 1 dumbbell, it's going to pull me a little bit off to the side, and I can carry it in that opposite leg. So I'm going to keep 1 leg on the box, drive up tall, and then come down under control. Repeat for the acquired number of reps on each side. Like last phase, we have a different interval program, focused more on the zones 2 and 3 recoveries, but that can be done on another day, or if you do that on this day, it has to be done after the resistance training circuit and everything else is done. So day 2 of the strength phase for the tennis player.